What's up, guys? Garage 79R. I hope you're staying inside and minimizing your contact with the outside world. Hopefully, we'll all get through this virus pandemic and get out the other side mostly unscathed. So, what's going on right now? I am working on Floyd, the Pincture cell. But I'm not doing what I should be doing, which would be like the wiring or some of the subsystems that get the motor fired up, like cooling, exhaust intake, fuel system. Nah, not doing any of that. I'm doing body work. Um, that was really the only rough spot on this car. Is it was starting to rust out right there, and you ignore it, and then you ignore it some more, and it gets pretty bad. Um, Here it is, the main chunks of it. Um, I cut out like one main chunk, then I cut it back into separate smaller chunks so I can try to use them as templates to figure out where I'm bending the metal. Um, it looks like it's two pieces, but it really isn't. It's actually one piece. But what I had welded a bead to simulate this hard line to give me something to work with. I am not a body man. I'm barely a metal man. I know how to do tubing and exhaust and making music, but when it comes to body work, that's a whole other talent. I would love to just pay someone to do this, but I can still do basic metal work. I can still get that sorted. Funny thing is, about 9 years ago, on my white Tercel, I did this time of year 9 years ago. I did the body work on my white Tercel. That same thing. However, on the white Tercel, the lower parts of the trunk on both sides are completely rotten. That car came from like Connecticut or New Hampshire or something like that. So it was just rusty. Luckily, that's really the only real rot on this car. On the other side at the bottom, there's like a little drain vent or something in the trunk. It's starting to bubble a little bit, so I'll probably just knock that back and seal it. But this car is actually really solid. It stayed in Maryland for most of its life, which is actually even more crazy because Maryland's not good on cars either. So, anyway, what's going on? We're doing that. I did that yesterday. Today's Saturday. I'm freaked out because I totally thought yesterday was Thursday. Woke up today thinking it was Friday, and no, I was wrong, very wrong. So I'm a little spaced out at the moment. I'm just trying to figure out when I lost today. So bought a car, and I'll sprinkle some pictures in. Bought a 1999 LS400 that was wrecked. It looks like he found the back of a truck. Didn't ask, didn't care. The sad part is I knew the car before it got wrecked because every time I would see it at my friend's shop being serviced, I'm like, hey, when are they ready to sell this to me? And well, when he wrecked it, that's when they were ready. So I bought it for the motor and trans. I'm still hesitant on using it. It's going to require me switching the oil pan, which is not a big deal. However, it's my personal opinion. I think the VVTi 1UZ is dog ugly. I'm not a fan of the way it looks at all. Even when they're cleaned up and painted, it just, I don't know. It just doesn't have any personality. The first gen UZ is when they're cleaned up, and they're in an engine bay and they're looking presentable, even in stock form. But if they're cleaned up, they just look awesome. They have, you see them like that's an engine. It just looks fantastic. So I've had that burned in my head for a million years. So now that I'm changing it up is giving me kind of weird feelings. It's for the better, 40 more horsepower and 40 more foot-pounds of torque. The horsepower and torque curves are much more wider as well. And the 5-speed auto gives me better gear splits. Not that the old setup would have been bad, it's better. Just a natural evolution. So, I'm still hesitant. We'll see. I still got to build a cross member. The trans mount came in, and It's a nice looking stock type trans mount for like the $9 or $10 I spent on it. If I can find it, I'll put the link into the description. So if you're looking for a factory style, you know, Lexus trans mount, if I find it, I'll put it in the description because it was like $9 or $10 shipped, and it looks the part. Now will it hold up after a couple years? I don't know. Don't care. So I primarily needed something that wasn't collapsed so I can build my cross member. Um, so I got to verify that the trans mount's in the same spot on the 5-speed. If it's in a different spot, I might just keep the old setup. But if it's in the same spot and I can continue doing my fab work with the old engine setup in the car, I might still consider switching to it at a later date. This is the point in the build. If I was going to do an engine change, this will be it. Because I haven't built any of the wiring yet. I haven't built the fuel system yet. I haven't done anything other than physically fit the motor in. And the mounts interchange. I can take my mounts, bolt them on that motor. I just got to verify the transmission length is the same in terms of the mount. Dry shaft's not built, so if the transmission is longer on the tail shaft or anything like that, that's not a big deal because it hasn't been accommodated for yet. So that's what's going on with the Malibu. Whenever Floyd. Hi, Floyd. So we covered 99, we covered Floyd. We gotta get to Earl. Earl's now in great shape. Did the heater core. Doing the heater core on the Tercel really wasn't bad. If I planned for it, I could do it in a day, for sure. I did it in 2 days because I had to cut my first day short, go to see the tax man and whatnot. So, but it really wasn't bad, and I might even go ahead and do this one in Floyd. You know, it's nothing wrong with it, but I might as well pull the dash out to mount the pedal and whatnot for the 5-speed and do all that. It's easier just get the dash out of the way to do that. And might as well just get the heater core. It's like $45 in Rock Auto. Might as well just do it and forget about it. That way I don't have to do it. What if something happens and it blows not too long after I get this running again? And I'm going to be like, ah. So, preventative maintenance. I'm going to go ahead and knock that out. But so yeah, new heater cores in Earl works great. It's like a blast furnace coming out of there. It's awesome. The only real issue I had with it is I had to retime the doors because the one cable got pulled through and it threw the timing off. And in the process, I broke a tiny little clip that attaches the cable to one of the levers to one of the doors. Luckily, I had a spare. I'm pointing at like. Luckily, I have the spare heater box for a Sarah because John bought it thinking we needed it. And actually, this one's a little bit different. Apparently, I don't know, the heater core on this is like twice as wide or twice as thick, and the box is ever so slightly different. So, now I got this awesome paperweight. I don't know what I'm going to do with it because I feel bad throwing it out. It's still somewhat useful, still has good parts. Like the clip I needed. Luckily, I have one of the clips I needed. I was able to get that off without breaking it, stick it on, get everything timed. Works fantastic. I also replaced the bump stops on Earl. You know what? I'm not going to even grab it. I'll grab it. This was my bump stop on Earl. You can see it's scalloped inside. My finger can go in it. This is not a bump stop. This is a suggestion. There's certain bumps. I got one locally I can test on, and there's another one up in the mountains that every freaking time it slams it. So I used to follow the theory, get as much suspension travel as possible. So what left me with that. Now on a road course, that was fine because you don't really have random bumps in the middle of the road. But on the street, there's bumps. There's violent bumps. So I took note, did some measuring. I looked at the suspension with full weight on it, and the bump stop was huge. It was like 4 inches tall. Actually, the bump stop was longer than my available travel. So I trimmed it down. I still have this. It has a soft scallop part, kind of like that. It's foam, and I'll sprinkle in the pictures here. I only took like 2 pictures. So I got the soft and I got the harder, full density stuff. And I set it up to be about 2/3 of the suspension travel. So once I start getting into any kind of bump, it starts becoming active, and it's a progressive bump stop. So it's not instant, 100% spring rate, or whatever, 100% stiffness. There's a little bit of progression. It also kind of dampens in the process. So that car rode great. It just, when you get into heavy bumps, it slammed the struts. So now it just kind of takes it and like dampens it nicely. I can't explain, like, I feel like an idiot rocking it so long with those little biscuits for a fucking, bump stop. So that's gave me a new appreciation for bump stops and what they can do in terms of supplementing your suspension setup, at least for the street. Now, I've heard of guys setting up their road course cars to pretty much ride on a bump stop, and there's probably merit to that if you can adjust for it. And I was just trying to give me something that saves the suspension from slamming all the time. So anyway, I'm very happy with it. It's gave me a new appreciation for things and gives me more to think about when setting up a suspension. So, um, that's all that's going on. I put a Paseo seat in Earl as well. I get the car running good, everything working right, just in time to not be able to drive it. So I have historic tags on it, and with this lockdown, I'm technically essential because I am an auto repair shop. However, we're not supposed to be driving our historic vehicles to work. With the extra nonsense, I'm just not going to risk it. I'm just going to leave it parked, and when I'm allowed, when the rules open up again after this virus pandemic, I'll start driving it again. The AC still works. It's just a great all around beater. I've been daily driving my Yaris. I put the baby seat back in that because now she's forward facing. It doesn't take up as much space. And the Highlander's just parked because I got no work coming in, so I need to minimize my gas, cost. So stay safe. Support your local businesses any way you can. I wish I had like merch and stuff. I'd be like, here, buy my merch, but that's also not who I am. If you want to support me, if you're local, you need custom welding done, find me. But this is what's going on. I want to work on Floyd today, get this metal work done, and then I'll work on Dustin's Paseo next, and then and hopefully maybe things start to turn around and things start to look up. So be safe, stay inside, watch YouTube, have fun.